Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We have an exciting episode ahead, packed with valuable insights, so please stay with us until the end as we dive deep into the latest developments in generative AI. Let's get started. In our last deep dive, we explored AI's role in music and sound design, and today we're turning our attention to the visual world of cinema. To help us unpack all this, we've got our expert guest with us. Welcome!
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a topic that's just moving at lightning speed. It's gone from this weird experimental toy to a legitimate production tool. It's a wild time to be in this space.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. We've broken it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll set the stage. Why is AI's arrival such a big deal right now? Then we're diving into the nitty-gritty, the illusion of control that drove filmmakers crazy at first. And then the really cool part, how the virtual film set is being rebuilt from the ground up. After that, we'll talk money, the new economics of content, and we'll wrap up by looking at the next frontier for storytelling. Yeah, that's the perfect way to frame it. It really tracks the evolution, right? From this, chaotic, unpredictable thing to something artists can actually direct. That jump from illusion to rebuilding, that's where the real magic is happening. Okay, let's kick things off with that first part, AI's arrival. Before we even get to the movie stuff, we kind of have to zoom out and look at the big picture. So why is everyone talking about generative AI like it's this massive turning point for the whole global economy? Well, this chart right here just says it all, doesn't it? I mean, look at that dotted line for AI. It just rockets up to almost 50% adoption in a couple of years? Now look at the internet in blue or the PC in purple. It took them something like 15 years to get to that same point. We've never seen a technology catch on this fast. And that speed, that's a huge part of the story here. And what's so wild is that this explosion in adoption is happening while the global economy has been, kind of stuck in the mud. Can you break down what we're seeing in these two charts? How do they connect?
Yeah, for sure. So on the left, you see the problem. The blue bars, that's productivity growth before 2008. Pretty decent. The red bars are after 2008. It's a huge drop. We've basically been in a productivity slump for more than a decade, just waiting for something to give us a boost. And now, look at the chart on the right. That's the hope. You've got Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, you name it. They're all looking at AI and saying, this is it. This is the engine that's going to get us moving again.
Right, so this slide basically boils all that optimism down to one key number. Exactly right. You can see it clear as day. The higher pre-2008 level, the slump we've been in since, and then, boom, that projected AI boost. Now, 0.7% added to annual GDP growth might not sound like a crazy number, but when you're talking about the entire global economy, that's trillions of dollars. It's the kind of kickstart we really haven't seen since the internet became mainstream. Okay, but with any new technology moving this fast, there's always that other side of the conversation, right? The fear. The classic, are the robots coming for our jobs question. We've seen this cycle so many times in creative industries. So how is that anxiety playing out in the world of filmmaking specifically? Well, that fear comes from a very real place, especially when you look at the first tools filmmakers got their hands on. Everyone saw those weird viral clips. That Will Smith eating spaghetti thing comes to mind. They were mesmerizing but totally unusable for telling a real story. And that brings us right into our second section here, this whole illusion of control. Okay, so what was it exactly? What about these early AI video tools just made creators feel like they had no control at all? This quote from Hua Hongwang just nails it. Directors told him that even when the AI spat out something that looked cool, they felt completely powerless. Imagine you're a director. You type in a prompt, a woman walks through a cyberpunk city, and you get this gorgeous shot. Great. But then you say, okay, now give me a close-up of her face. And the AI gives you a different woman on a different street with totally different lighting. There's no consistency. All the basic building blocks of filmmaking, like a simple shot-reverse shot in a conversation, were impossible. That's the powerlessness he means. You can't tell a story that way. Yeah, and looking at this list, we're not talking about small glitches here. These are deal breakers. Oh, absolutely. Things like visual flicker and drift. That's because the AI is basically making up each frame one at a time, with no memory of the one before it. It doesn't understand that an object is a persistent thing in 3D space. And that's why you get the creepy stuff like warped faces or hands with 6 fingers. The AI knows what a hand looks like in a million different 2D photos, but it has no real concept of a 3D hand with bones and muscles. It's trying to solve a 3D problem using 2D rules, and, it just falls apart. It shatters the illusion. So this chart really lays out the fundamental shift that had to happen. It's not just a tweak, it's a totally different way of thinking. It is. That left column, prompt-based generation, that's the old way. It's basically writing a wish into a text box and crossing your fingers. It's pure chaos. But the column on the right, the spatially aware framework, that's the revolution. You're not just giving it text anymore. You're giving it a whole 3D environment. You're defining where the characters are, where the lights are, where the camera is. Suddenly, the artist isn't just a glorified prompt engineer. They're a virtual director again, working in a world that makes sense. And that's the perfect lead-in to our third section, rebuilding the virtual film set. So we get the problem, a lack of control. How technically are they fixing it? What does this new controllable world actually look like? It really comes down to this 3-step workflow that's designed to feel a lot like a real film set, just, virtual. So step 1 is digitization. This is like your pre-production. You scan your actors, your props, your locations, and you create these perfect, consistent digital versions of them. Then comes step 2, decomposition. This is where it gets really cool. You can actually pull apart the different elements. You can take an actor's facial expression and separate it from their body movement. You can take the lighting and control it completely separately from the set itself. It's kind of like having every single thing on its own layer in Photoshop or its own track in an audio editor. And then finally, step 3 is compositing. That's where the director puts it all back together, layering all these controlled pieces into the final shot. And this whole workflow isn't just theory, right? There's some really specific, cutting-edge tech making this possible. Oh yeah, a couple of things are huge here. The first is called Gaussian splatting. It's a totally new way to build that virtual set. Forget building complicated 3D models like in a video game. This technique basically creates a scene out of a cloud of tiny colored dots. It's super efficient and lets you build a stunningly realistic 3D world you can move a camera through just from a handful of regular photos. The other key ingredient is something called a LoRa model. Okay, so think of the big AI model as a student who knows a little bit about everything. A LoRa is like a tiny little cheat sheet you give it for one specific subject. You can have a LoRa that teaches the AI exactly what your main character's face looks like, and another one that teaches it your specific lighting style. It lets you specialize the AI without having to retrain the whole giant thing from scratch. It's incredibly powerful. This quote really sums up the whole philosophy behind this change, doesn't it? It absolutely does. Artists have always thought in 3D. A director thinks about where to put the camera in a room. A painter thinks about light and shadow to create depth. But the first AI tools forced them to work in this flat, 2D text prompt world that felt completely unnatural. This new approach, this 3D-aware framework, it's not just a better tool, it's a tool that finally thinks the way artists do. It's technology finally catching up to the creative process instead of trying to force the process to fit the technology. Okay, so the artists finally have control back. That's huge. But fixing the creative problem also completely blows up the economic model. So let's get into that with section 4, the new economics of content. Just how big of a deal are we talking about for the business of making movies and shows? The numbers are just mind-blowing. We're talking about taking production costs down by more than 90%. Think about it. A typical TV show can cost, $70,000 for a single minute of screen time? That's paying for huge crews, building sets, renting locations, expensive equipment, the whole shebang. With an AI workflow, a tiny team sitting at a couple of computers can generate a perfect medieval castle or a crazy alien world. The barrier to entry, it's not just lowered, it's vaporized. Suddenly, an indie creator on YouTube has the potential to make something that looks just as good as a Hollywood blockbuster. So it's not just about saving money on existing projects. This idea of a flywheel effect suggests it could create a whole new way of doing business. How does that flywheel work? Yeah, it's this awesome positive feedback loop. We've kind of seen it with YouTube, but this puts it on steroids for high-end content. So step 1. Because it's so cheap to make stuff, you can create way more content. You can take risks, try weird things, serve niche audiences. That leads to step 2. All that variety brings in a massive audience. Then, step 3, advertisers see all those eyeballs and they jump in. And here's the key, step 4. That ad money goes right back to the creators to fund their next cool project. You end up with a system where amazing content can be totally free for viewers, supported by ads. And that could be a huge challenge for the subscription services we're all used to, like Netflix. All right, so we've got the tech for control, we've got a new economic model. It feels like we're almost there. But that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, our final section, storytelling's next frontier. What's the one big thing that AI still just can't get right? Simple, it's emotion. An AI can give you an epic battle scene or a beautiful alien landscape, no problem. But that quiet, tense, emotional scene between two people, the subtle stuff, that's where it completely falls down. That's the final hurdle. So this timeline here suggests we're getting closer. But why is emotion so much harder for an AI to fake? Because we are all world-class experts in spotting a fake human. We've evolved for millions of years to detect the tiniest little micro-expression, a twitch of an eye, the way someone's lip tightens. An AI might know the shape of a happy face from a billion photos, but it doesn't understand the feeling behind it. So if anything is even slightly off, it just feels creepy? That's the uncanny valley. So right now, as you can see, the tech is fine for things like animation or sci-fi where you're not going for perfect realism. But the thinking is, within a year, we'll have much better lip sync and facial details. And in maybe 2 years, we might finally be able to generate drama that feels emotionally real. So even when the AI gets good enough to do drama, this quote suggests we're not talking about replacing people. It's more of a partnership. That's exactly it. The end game isn't 100% AI. It's a hybrid model. The most powerful approach will be to capture a raw, brilliant performance from a real human actor and then use AI as the ultimate toolkit. Use it to put that performance on a spaceship or de-age the actor by 20 years or completely relight the scene after it's been shot. It's about taking away the physical and technical limits so that human creativity is the only thing that matters. It's about humans and AI working together. Wow, this has been an absolutely incredible breakdown of where we are and where we're going. So, to wrap it all up for everyone watching, let's hit the key takeaways. First, AI filmmaking is not an experiment anymore, it's a real production tool. And that's because we've shifted from messy 2D prompts to controllable 3D virtual worlds. Second, that shift is causing a massive economic earthquake, cutting costs by 90% or more and opening the door for totally new ad-supported business models. And finally, the last big challenge is mastering human emotion, but we're on a fast track with major breakthroughs expected in the next 1 to 2 years, probably leading to a future where humans and AI create together. We hope you'll tune in for our next deep dive where we will explore the dark side of Gen AI, ethics, lies, and copyright chaos. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and share, and don't forget to hit the bell for more from Tech, AI, and beyond.